Hey, what's up? So just for fun, I wanted to talk about the Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson discussion chat they had. I watched the whole thing, man, 3 hours long. I would say it's not worth listening to. That's just my opinion. Um, I'm I stopped at a certain point where I went too deep and dark in the conspiracy realm. But I'm light years ahead of what these guys will ever actually talk about. It kind of part of their conversation made me think about it. I was like, you know what? I've done the same thing. I allude or whatever to the deep dark stuff, and it's because I don't even want to think about it. I blocked it. I blocked it. I had to. And that was hard. That was not easy, man. I had to shut it off. I'm not talking about like shutting off the news. It's not, no. Anyways, so I was thinking about that and I was like, oh yeah, I mean, maybe they're in kind of a similar situation where but Tucker Carlson has been a paid liar for my entire life and his entire life. He's born rich and he was born into that world. I do believe that people can change. But I'm not going to give them the benefit of the doubt until and if and unless things actually change for the better for people in general, and the system wasn't so evil. But he's going to remain rich. Like it's weird the way they can talk about little things now. I guess it's very strange to me. Part of the discussion behind that says that it's planned, it's deliberate. Like they're doing this on purpose. This is part of the cycle, and I do remember reading about it before. Kind of talked about that before too. Like it's all happened before. Everything going on right now in the past few years has all happened before. It's on a cycle, man. It's crazy. It's different with the internet for sure. Way easier. Way easier. Wow, man, it's crazy. The way everything just technologically, like, I guess that's what happens, right? Like, they want to destroy it. I don't know. It's so weird, man. That's so weird. But yeah, so the discussion in like independent media and whatever it's a demoralizing campaign or whatever, I guess. I don't. It's so weird, man. It's different for me because I've kind of been hopeless my whole life in a way, and I'm just putting it very simply. um, Kinda like, but to me that's normal. So when they talk about it being like a demoralizing campaign, I'm like, from what? Like, but that's me, and I know not everybody's like me. Yeah. Anyways, so I forgot. I have notes on this interview, and just go over it and see what's up. I've Oh, now I remember. I kind of want to talk about this because, like, as much as I would like to give the benefit of the doubt, and think these people have changed their minds or whatever, I think it's still controlled opposition. Like it doesn't make sense, and I'll tell you why. Okay, because everything, basically at this point, for anybody my age or older, we've heard all this before. We know the conspiracies, and now they're just confirming them. Right? And in the meantime, what we're gonna do, because this has happened before, I've done it even when I was younger. I don't remember what it specifically was, but a couple of little things where the government admitted to, and we're like, well, yeah, okay, no surprise, whatever. And that's how. But it's nuts right now because it's too much. It's very overwhelming. Um, so that's part of the deliberate campaign. It's very strange. It really is, because they really are. I mean, I said it back in 2020. I was like, it's all out in the open, like it's like, holy crap. They're literally saying these things in MSM, right? And like, it's like, okay. Okay, right? You know. Anyways. No, it's funny. Yeah. So I start. I'd rather just keep on topic. I was gonna say something I thought was funny, but never mind. All right. Let's see what we got. But yeah, I still 1,000% believe it's controlled opposition, and Rogan, Tucker Carlson, uh, everybody small is still censored, and now they've got that thing with Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson, how like, oh, their views didn't match their likes and stuff, which is totally true. It's totally true. But it's been like that for everybody for a few years. Not just that, but everybody else that isn't some big popular, person was banned. Banned. Channels deleted. Gone. Permanently. Mini, man. That's crazy. That was the extreme part, right? Like, you get flat out banned. I mean, everybody got censored though, including me, dude. Like, what? I'm over here like looking at my videos with like 10 views maximum for like average, right? And now you can't even tell now. YouTube, no matter what, is constantly flipping the numbers, likes, views. This happens on my own channel. I've been seeing this for the past month or two. The censorship was different. Like now it's is it likes? I know views for sure. I don't know why I was thinking likes. Anyways, the views are nuts. I'll literally watch my own videos go from like 3 views yesterday to 12 to 30 back down to zero over a week, like a period of a week. My one video will change these numbers like every single day, multiple times throughout the day, and I'm just like, what the hell is going on? Anyways, that is funny though, and not just that, right? It's on multiple different pages. Okay, just to if you have YouTube, go look yourself. It's funny. You'll probably unless you just have never shared anything to get censored for. But I would bet it's happening to every channel just because YouTube's a piece of crap. But there is shadow banning. Like I know that for sure. Shadow banning. It's true though. There really is. Like you're not no freedom of speech, but freedom of reach. It's already been in action for at least a year. Like at least. I'm sure longer. Now it's more legal, right? Whatever. Anyways, so for the views, the way they change, they happen on the view page, right? Like if you go to somebody's channel and it shows you views or whatever, it changes on there. It changes in your dashboard. If as a YouTube uploader in your creator thing, in your dashboard, it'll show a different number, and then it'll also show a different number in your content. So the dashboard, if you always look at the most recent video in the dashboard, and it shows how many views and whatever, right? And then when you go to content, you're looking through all your videos that you've put up, and the numbers will change on each one of these differently, and they won't match. It's funny. I didn't mean to go into that, but it's funny, man. It's nuts. So they're making this big deal about Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan, talking about like, oh, look at them, they're being shadow banned, blah, blah, blah. Like it's like, no. And I thought it was funny because like, that like when I first came across that post, it was early on, yesterday I think, or maybe the day before, but I think it was yesterday. Anyways, they had like a lot of views, right? But they were comparing it like to his so-called millions of subscribers, and this is all the views it has. But also on top of that, like the let's say if the views were at 3,000 views, the likes were at like 15,000. That was funny. I can't remember the exact numbers. I might have it saved, but it was funny. I was like, yep, that's pretty funny. But like even so, even if you can see that they got 15k likes or whatever, that it got more than 3,000 views. But yeah, so I think that's all fake. I think that's pretend. Now it could be real, but I think it's fake. It's like I think they're controlled opposition. I think it's a show. Even I don't know, man. It seems like they have a natural conversation, right? Seemingly, but I don't think it is. I think it's a script, and I think they're good actors, or decent ones. um. Anyways, I didn't mean to say all that either. I don't want to talk about the stupid censorship. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. But it is a part of the show. Uh, Especially funny because when I watched that interview, part of I don't care. I think I mentioned it a little earlier, right? I was like, they don't they just talk about like a couple basic things, um, and they don't really. It's like PG rated. I don't know how to explain it. They're not going far enough. They're not having a real conversation. They're having a TV conversation. Like it's limited. Like if I were to, I'll give you an example of the show that I watch. I've shared them before. AM Wake Up. And me, if I'm talking to somebody, I have said I don't want to talk about the dark things I tried before, though I did. I was like, it's too dark, though. It's nuts. But on that show that I watch, there's one of the guys that's on the show regularly named Tease. I think T. Snyder. Sometimes in a conversation, in a real conversation, he'll just go deep. He'll go dark, and not even like bloody dark, just dark. And he'll just go on a rant for like anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes. I think I've seen some long ones by him. Like it's been a while since I've seen like a 20-minute rant by that guy. Wasn't even a rant, but like he'll go off, man. Like, and he'll talk about the details in like in a way that you can understand is really really evil, but not in the like. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. I don't know how to explain that. I don't have the right words. I don't have the right vocabulary. I've talked about that before. But anyways, like I love that. It's not often. But when sometimes he'll go into like this little rant, and I'm like, yep, he's seen it. Like, and he's seen more than me. I'm sure. Oh my gosh. Anyways, okay. Man, weird. This has gone a lot more different than I thought it'd be. Anyway, never mind. Okay. Oh, I'm on the wrong thingy. Here we go. Oh yeah, so part of I had already mentioned the censorship, and like people only notice the censorship thing is when it happens to the big channels. They don't care when all the smaller people, because of course not. Nobody even knows the smaller channels. That's weird. It's so funny though. Let's see. So there's a couple points I could point out about Tucker himself as far as his history and his past. But if he has changed, if for real, then I don't really want to stick to that. You should be wary this is a rich dude with an evil past, so whatever, man. And a paid liar, literally a paid liar. So part of this discussion, there was a point where Joe Rogan said that Alex Jones had got Sandy Hook wrong because he had seen too much evil and started to see evil where it wasn't. This is put in my own words. Something like that. Joe Rogan was explaining. He was like, look, Alex was going through some crap. He saw some crap. And so he saw it everywhere he looked and whatever. That's one thing he says about that. Because I actually watched. I have a zillion notes on the Alex Jones documentary, or not even a document, the court thing, the Truth Valley versus Alex Jones. Not worth watching, but kind of funny in parts. But I'm thinking about doing a video on that. But that's a tricky one. That is, it's a very sensitive one, and I know I'd go a bit crazy on that. Anyways, he actually, in that they talk about how he did would admit that Sandy Hook was real or whatever in court, but at the same time, and even that same movie, like immediately after they said that, he'd go into how I forgot. Oh, I don't want to get into that. Oh, it's for another video. I have so many notes on that one, dude. It was nuts. I don't think it was worth watching, but it was it was pretty nuts. My favorite part in that whole movie was when Alex Jones, for like almost a full minute, just was like advertising his product, like in their court. He got asked a question, and he's like, "Yeah, we've got the best drugs," and he like went into it, man. And I was like, he's literally advertising his product here in their court and in this movie and whatever, man. It's anyways, okay. So I just thought that was an interesting thing that he brought up. I could say it's a fair point, but that would take getting into. Yeah, I didn't realize that would be a tricky one to comment on, especially if I'm not going to go into the full video that they did, the full movie, because it's fake, man. That whole Truth versus Alex Jones thing was literally a puppet show, man. Like, the curtain opened up and then you had this puppet show going on. Like, okay. Anyways, I don't know if I'm gonna get around to making that video. I don't know, man. I asked, and one of my friends was like, "Yeah, do it, piss people off." And I'm like, "Well, that's not my goal, not in that sense, anyways." Yeah, that's, anyways. Yeah, not even in general, like especially where I've been. Yikes, it's painful, dude. Anyways, all right, so. And then we have, and this one, I always forget about this one. In conversation, Joe and Tucker brought up a point where Alex Jones had actually literally predicted 9/11 by saying that 2 planes would fly into the towers and they would blame someone named Osama bin Laden. And I remember hearing about that for a long time too. I remember hearing about it back then. I remember hearing about it back then when I was a kid. I didn't, but I also, whenever I heard I even listened to Alex Jones, but I mean, I've said it before, when one of my friends, early on when I started getting into this stuff and talking about it, one of my friends had said something like, "You've been watching too much Alex Jones." I had watched like maybe 2 minutes, maybe total in my entire life of Alex Jones. And I was like, wow, man. But I mean, the story spread, right? So I'm hearing Alex Jones stories from other people, right? That, you know, but it's different when you when you look into things for real. But so I thought that was funny, and they were discussing that a little bit, and then Tucker brought up how he thinks Alex Jones, at that point, not for everything, but specifically for that event, was clairvoyant and, you know, had a whatever, right, was able to to tell Nostradamus style, I guess. But I thought that was funny that he brought that up. He was like, "Yeah, it's supernatural, you know, whatever." And I'm just like, I don't know, man. If we were talking about normal people here, this is the kind of discussion us normies have. Friends chilling, hanging out, and discussing like spirituality and stuff like that, or weird events and all that kind of stuff, and the what if this, what if that. Like we have these discussions, at least I have anyways, with not every single person ever, but you know, sometimes you have these conversations with your friends, you know, right? I don't know, unless have you not had those conversations before? My assumption is that everybody at one point in their life has had at least one of those types of discussions, right? Could be a really bad assumption though. Yeah, man, it's weird to think about how much stuff is so normal to myself or anyone that isn't normal to someone else. You know, there's so much that we know is normal that's not somebody else's normal. And one of the easy ways, the most obvious ways to put that would be like the poor person versus a rich person. You know, very different worlds, nothing alike. They do not understand living in the other world unless they've somehow been from in both, you know. I don't, anyways. I just thought that was funny. He was talking about like Alex Jones having like he was like supernatural vision or, you know, prediction or whatever, and clairvoyant. It is a funny one though. I don't know, man. I didn't go. I remember hearing about it back then, and I remember seeing people bring it up from time to time, but I never actually looked into it you know, to see like what time does this happen, when did this what, like, huh? But I thought that was funny. Anyways, and then another thing throughout this long little chat they had, like it's a chat, not even like an interview, it's just a chat, which makes sense, you know. Tucker kept bringing up democracy and how good it is, and we need a democracy. And one thing that I've found, and I've heard this before too, I thought it was funny, but like a lot of patriots, a lot of them, you get into it, they're gonna say we've never been a democracy. We were meant to be a republic. And I had heard that as a kid too. And that's the thing about all these. That's why I don't use them. That's normally, anyways. I never have. I never really, when I discuss political things, I've never used like parties until the past few years when I was like, now I have to freaking be specific. What a waste. But I never. The labels are dumb. They're pointless because they are meaningless. Democrat and Republican are the same thing, man. They're not even like, there's no difference. So you don't have to call them Democrat or Republican. They're all politicians and they're all the government. You know, it's funny. And the same thing with like any ideology, though. Especially when, I mean, it depends. The people that really study these ideologies actually understand what they mean and stuff, right? But most people on the surface don't actually study these things, which I mean, I'm one of them, so that's why I say it, right? Like until now, anyways. But because I know I've had these discussions with people throughout my life. And everybody has a different opinion or idea of what communism is, or what socialism is, or what these things are. There's some of them are the obvious ones, right? Like anarchy is a little more obvious to people ideologically wise, although the funny thing about that is they're always presented in TV and movies and whatever as the bad guy, the punkers, the evil villains or whatever. It's pretty funny. And then what else? Like there was another one, but yeah, I don't even like thinking about those things. It's dumb. The whole label stuff is just, they don't really have any real meanings, and most of the time, right? Except for what, totalitarian or whatever, I guess. Like even capitalism. You can talk to at minimum 2 different people. One person is gonna say how capitalism destroys wealth and the poor people are really screwed because of it and whatever, and then you'll have like some rich person, or what, usually a rich person, wealthy or higher. It's funny because that's how it is. We'll talk about how great capitalism is and how it brings jobs and free market or whatever. I don't know, it's so funny. So my point is that these different labels, so many people would have a different idea about the same word, and they're not thinking about the same thing at all, right? When they discuss it, you say socialism, communism, and there's 100 people have a completely different idea, and they're like, okay, yeah, and they all think theirs is the right idea, So it's funny, man. That's why I don't use labels normally. They're stupid. They're pointless. They don't, specifically when it comes to like politics, because it is a bunch of nonsense. Oh my gosh, yeah, it's that whole thing. Anyways, yeah, oh yeah, so I forgot I brought that up because Tucker kept going, democracy, I wish we had a real democracy, that's obviously gone now. It's pretty funny, man. I'm gonna have a quick drink of water, give me a sec. Okay. Oh yeah, and then Joe Rogan brought up something about how RFK didn't have a Secret Service protection team assigned to him by the Biden administration or whatever. Like that was actually like a year or 2 ago that happened too. It wasn't even recent, unless they just keep using that same story over it, which is probably whatever. So trying to make it look like RFK is, oh no, watch out for he might fight the state. It's just like, so this is another reason why it just confirms for me controlled opposition. And we could say, oh, they're confused or, but at this point, no. And then I think it was Tucker who was mentioning the border is like really insecure, and you got to check out my video on the border thing. I think that stuff's funny, man. I'll link it too. But Tucker was talking about like the border is insecure and all this, and he's like, they're not even doing ID checks or using biometrics, because that's what they've been pushing for a while. But especially right now in the past few years, really pushing the bioscans, facial recognition, you know, right? The everybody on their cell phone with their ID, social credit score. They don't call it that, but that basically is every part of those details is social credit score, you know, whatever. We've had that. I mean, people point it out. I always think it's funny as people point that out. We've had that our whole life ever since credit cards existed, kind of, you know, right? But this is a little different, you know, a little, right? Like it's a little more extreme, you know, than credit card type thing. That's funny because that is like, you know, your bank account, your credit score is a social credit score of a kind, you know. So that's funny. But yeah, he brought up like biometrics as if we need it. It reminds me of this one guy I'd seen on the show. He used to be a co-host on the show that I watched, the main show that I watched. I couldn't stand him. He was always talking about like I forget what it was, but trying to make sure that votes mattered and election integrity or whatever. And I just couldn't stand him. He seemed like a very nice guy, but I could not stand him. He's just to me a phony, like a nice guy but a phony. Whatever. Anyways, but he would talk about it too. He was praising another country for having like for voting, like in their voting line, just regular normal voting lines. He's like, they have biometric scans, they got facial recognition, so like nobody could fake their vote. And I'm just like, you stupid idiot. Like I always called him an op, like a Fed. And Fed didn't used to be a normal word for me, man, until the past few years. Now I use Fed like it's a normal word. Like I used to hear it as a kid too, from friends. Sometimes, not all my friends, but I had like a couple of friends would be like Fed, 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 Fed. Now I'm like, shit, that one guy, he knew, man. Like, so funny. Crap, yeah, he was in a conspiracy back then too. That's so funny, man. Anyways, you know, some of the stuff I remember as a kid, I'm just like, what son of a dick, you know. But no, I was out of my mind. I was not thinking straight, man. Anyways, so let me see what I spoke on. Oh yeah, this was funny. So Tucker brought up how everybody nowadays, and this is a normal thing that the media and everybody, TV shows, movies, whatever, we all talk about, we all know, and those of us on the internet have talked about this for a long time. Everybody is distracted on the internet and their devices and all this stuff and whatever, you know, right? But what I thought was funny about this was that Tucker, part of that discussion, he's talking about how like, yeah, man, I used to go with my family, and you know, the way it used to be was we would spend time together, you know, and we'd have 4-hour meals where we just hung out, chatted the whole time, and going to gatherings and all this stuff. And I'm sitting, I'm like, yeah, no, that's what like a non-poor person would do, right? Because the poor people are working and sleeping and working and sleeping and working and sleeping and working and sleeping. So I just thought that was funny, man. I saw, man, like, and it was different for me as a kid, you know, a little bit, you know, going to school and whatever, and never being home, being out doing sports, and then going to parties, and that was fun, man. That was fun. And then my last note on the specific chat that Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson had. I'm reminding myself what I'm talking about here. They during that conversation also, they also mentioned spoke about 9/11, and the reason I found this interesting, the specific one, and why I still don't trust and call them controlled opposition, whatever. I don't know specifically about Joe Rogan. I've never really liked Joe Rogan, and never. He seems like a nice dude, but I don't care, right? Like, I'm not like, I don't know. I've heard too much from him, and not even a whole lot, but I've heard enough from him not to want to regularly watch his crap, because to me, I think it's fake. It might be interesting, fun discussion, but generally and overall, I've heard the crap, the funneling, like telling you where to go, and oh, that's the bad guy, here's the good guy. It's like the difference when people will tell you all these bad things, Biden, 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 bad, 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 Biden, all true. And then turn around and go, Trump's your hero. You're a moron. You're a freaking moron. You couldn't possibly be more stupid as a human being to... It's so sad. It's so sad. It's dumb. It's whatever. Anyways. It's like why? Like, if you're gonna know all the bad about Biden, the least you should do is know all the bad about Trump as well. And also, how do you still fall for that after COVID? How, man? Come on. Anyways, yeah, so they spoke a little bit about 9/11, and Tucker was talking about like the conspiracy stuff, right? But what I thought was funny was like I like this is a guy who's been, on the news as a reporter, right? And I always crack up too, because it reminds me of this. There was a court case or whatever. It just was in the news. I don't know, whatever. It was in the news. They reported on it, whatever. Like Fox like defended in court that something about like, I forget. I wish I remember the whole story, but I remember in court they said that Tucker Carlson's viewers don't take him seriously, and that was to win the case. That people don't believe Tucker Carlson, so it doesn't matter what he says on their network or something like that. Whatever, dude. So, that's the story I know. I don't care. I just thought that was funny. Like I now thinking about it, I'm like, crap, man. Maybe I should have looked into that more just to see. But I don't care. It's when everything's a lie. What the hell does that matter, man? You want to replace? I was like people that I'll talk to want to replace one lie with another lie. It's the same thing with like, look at all the bad Biden, but here's your hero Trump, like, or RFK Jr. And I'm telling you, man, it's nuts. It sucks. So I don't know. I just thought about it too. I'm like, isn't that demoralizing? I don't think so, because I remember learning that voting didn't matter when the very first time I ever tried, when I was, an adult, right? So that was that is demoralizing. It was different back then though than now, because with all the conspiracy being confirmed on MSM, that's a different type of demoralization, I guess. I don't know. Because it's weird to me that people can't even just get past the part that your vote doesn't matter at all. How are they supposed to get into anything that might be a conspiracy or whatever? And I said this, like, I was like, look, don't go and look. Don't go. Do not go and read those stories. Do not go into the deep end. Do not go find more information, because it'll break your fucking mind. Especially all that at once. You want to look into one thing, and maybe maybe you can handle it. You might be able to handle any of that stuff better than I did. So, and I've also said though, like, but if you really want to know the truth, you have to go see that shit. Like, you have to. Like, it's so ridiculous, dude. So yeah, no, that sucks. Then, and that in itself I can understand would be demoralizing, but that's, I guess, is why I can understand some of these guys that are like telling you to grow your own food. and shit, you know, like, but they do focus on community, you know, like people that you live around, your family, your friends, and people that are your actual literal neighbors, you know. Take care of them and stuff, you know, get to know them, all that kind of thing, you know. I I remember one time I was this is what I think my first year here, maybe my second year in the new home, and it was snowing, and I was down the street. I think probably taking a check to the mail or something. And I was walking by this couple, and they were out in the snow. They were doing something, and I was just like, "Would you like some help?" And at first, the lady said, "Yeah," because she misheard the husband, and the husband turned back and said, "Oh no, 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 that's fine. We're good." And I was like, "All right, cool." So, anyways, but for some reason, it was so strange to me because I was walking away from them, and she's like, "We love America" or something like that, and I was like, "We're really proud Americans" or something, and it was, and they have this giant flag outside their home too, and I didn't understand. I was like, "Did I say something like to make her say that?" Like, it was just weird. It was out of nowhere. It was out of nowhere, and maybe I hallucinated. I don't think so, but because it was so random, it was out of nowhere, man. I was like, "What?" I was like, I just walked away, and I was like, "I never want to talk to them ever again." um. Anyways, no, that's funny though. Yeah, no. So that's why I did make that video to recommend basically the only news show that I would recommend right now. Um, and they're not even like a news show, you know. They do cover news, but half their episodes are pretty boy. It depends. Sometimes you'll get a really good episode where it just flows all the way through, and it was like, damn, that was good. But they're rare, dude. They used to be more common like a couple years ago. But yeah, so yeah, well, rewatching the recordings can be okay. Anyways, I don't want to go too much into other topics. This is a weird one. I just wanted to share some of my thoughts on Tucker and Joe Rogan, their little show. I feel it was a waste. I have free time right now, man. I do. I would rather do better things with my free time, but anyways. So I watched. I think I saw like one or two clips from it that I was like, kind of interesting. Another thing about, real quick, as a final thought kind of a thing, I guess. Watching that chat with Tucker, and I've seen Tucker before in little clips. I've watched a couple of his shows before. I don't remember why. I don't remember that stuff because it's just stupid crap to me. But I try. It's like I said, I've said this about Trump before. Like, I tried. I watched like at least 4 hours of that dude. Full hours. Giving speeches, man, trying to understand what people were seeing. I'm just like, what the hell am I missing? This guy's a lunatic, like, on camera. So Biden will fall asleep and be a stupid, brainless, dumb, just what the hell is going on there, when he's, you know, not always, right? But if you've seen those actually happen when it's hilarious, dude. I don't even know which version of Biden that is too. It's so funny. But then Trump will be on camera just saying the most insane crap. It's so funny. Anyways, what the hell was I saying? Oh yeah. So I've tried, man. I have watched opposing views. I've watched, you know, trying to get an understanding of things, and just in general, whatever. So there have been times where I've watched Tucker Carlson. I'm like, you know, this is a guy I could have a chat with. You know, he's not an asshole, or like I don't like him, and generally as a human being I think he's an asshole, but I think like sometimes I could like him, right? You know, if I didn't believe it was fake, you know, like I watched this conversation and I was like, he seemed like a cool dude, you know, right? Like, dude, some of that stuff I'm watching, I'm like, dude, I think these guys like in MSM or whatever, like watch regular people online and then like try to mimic us or something. It's the same thing with like even before the internet and whatever. If people were doing protests or whatever, or doing their clubs, right? When they're passing around their pamphlets telling you what's bad about the government and all that kind of a thing. Um, they would see what they do and how they speak to each other, and then go on TV to pretend they're the same kind of relatable type of person, you know, whatever. It's just they know our conversation, so that's what they use in order to direct us into the wrong, you know, direction or whatever. Us, whatever. That's just how I see it and think of it. I don't want. You know, I would rather give them the benefit of the doubt. But I've spent, you know, I mean, it's been my entire life that all they've done is lie. All they've done is back and forth on their own words. Back and forth. The same. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised a month from now Tucker saying the exact opposite of what he said here. It doesn't, I mean, maybe not. I don't care. We've gone too far with the ridiculousness, man. I forgot to about the 9/11 discussion with Tucker. Oh wait, no, I said that, right? Like, I mean, if I was a reporter back then and on the news and whatever, I would have done my job and I would have investigated more and not just you know, went along with that nonsense like he did. And he says now, he says he you know, regrets it or whatever. I mean, he could, like I said, he could, but I don't know. I don't. It's not much of a reporter, right? Like, it did make me think. I was like, I would like if I had looked deeper back then, which I wouldn't. I was a kid, man, and I didn't even want to this time either. I didn't want to. It's whatever. If I had looked deeper then, I would have been very convinced that that was not what they said it was, you know. So this was a supposed reporter, not knowing that was a lie until now. You know what I mean? And now he questions it. Now I question it then. All I remember was like, that looks like a controlled demolition. You know, that's all, man. Very basic. Anyways, so yeah, that was fun and interesting. And I'm gonna go now. I'll talk to you later. Bye bye.